I mean, they asked them a question today, and I'm sure if you're of the type of person who just always hates the one team and loves what the other one does, they asked them a question about the crash. They said, will you visit the crash site? Now, every other politician would go, of course, it was a tragedy. And he went, it's the water.
When they don't have anything to hold you with, nothing to make you think about what they have to say, they talk at you, not to.
Bill Maher is back in the spotlight, and once again, he's not holding anything back. This time, he's calling out the hosts of The View, saying they've gone too far with what he sees as yet another round of over-the-top politically correct nonsense. Maher, known for his blunt and unapologetic style, took issue with some recent comments from the panel, and he didn't waste time pointing out what he sees as clear contradictions in what they said. As usual, he used his platform to cut through the noise, calling out what he views as hypocrisy and mixed messages. His remarks were direct, biting, and aimed squarely at the idea that certain opinions are being packaged as facts while ignoring common sense, whether you agree with him or not. Maher is never afraid to challenge the popular narrative, and this time, he's once again sparked a heated conversation. We've got all the clips lined up, so you can see exactly what was said and how Maher responded. It's definitely a moment worth watching, especially if you've been following how mainstream talk shows handle hot-button topics. So settle in. This one's got a lot to unpack, and if you enjoy thought-provoking commentary that doesn't dance around the truth, make sure to stay tuned for more. Next.
Well, I had a different question, but it struck me that in the first segment you used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected.
This is exactly the kind of thing that could put Donald Trump back in the White House. There's a pattern we keep seeing, what some call the woke playbook. It's all about twisting people's words, ignoring what they actually meant, and creating confusion in the name of progress. The goal isn't honest debate or understanding, it's about controlling the story. They've done it to Trump over and over again. Every comment, every clip, taken out of context, reshaped to fit a narrative that paints him as the ultimate villain. It's not an accident, it's how some of these folks operate. It's automatic now, so when Bill Maher walked into that same arena, it didn't take long for them to try the same tactic. They zeroed in, tried to twist his words, and set him up for one of those gotcha moments. But Maher wasn't having it. He pushed back clearly, calmly, and right on point. He explained exactly what he meant before the headlines could spin it out of control. And in that moment, you could feel a shift. The usual groupthink didn't work. They didn't know how to react. Maher stood his ground with confidence. No drama, no shouting, just straight talk. And sometimes, that's all it takes to cut through the noise.
Woke is a word used by the black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
But words migrate.
Why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice, who's not for that? But words do migrate. Now, I'll use any term you want.
Okay.
Because maybe that is a word that's triggering, and so let's not use that word. I don't know, want to call it the super far left?
Sunny Hostin came in ready for a fight, clearly trying to pin Bill Maher as some kind of anti-woke villain. But from the moment she started talking, it was clear things weren't going to go her way. She looked uneasy, rubbing her forehead, avoiding eye contact, and delivered her point with the kind of hesitation that made it obvious she knew this wasn't going to land well. You could almost see it hit her, that sinking feeling that Maher was about to take apart her argument without breaking a sweat. She opened with a familiar claim that conservatives had twisted the word woke into something negative, using it to attack progress. But Maher wasn't on the defensive. He stayed calm, clear, and sharp, and he pushed back immediately. Maher's point was simple. The right didn't have to twist anything. It was the far left's own behavior that had turned woke into a punchline. He pointed out how constant language policing, canceling people for small mistakes, and an obsession with identity politics have made it easy for critics to mock. According to Maher, progressives handed their opponents all the ammunition, they just lit the fuse. And that's exactly what he did. Calmly, with facts and a firm tone, he laid it all out. Sensing the momentum shift and realizing Maher wasn't backing down, the panel seemed unsure of what to do next, so they brought in backup Whoopi Goldberg, often seen as the face of the show's progressive voice. But by then, Maher had already made his point and made it well.
Dare you be so flippant, man? Listen, nobody on the planet really wants to go through this. This is not something we're doing because it's, sexually gratifying. This is what we're doing to protect our families. And you don't have to do it, but stay away from everybody. Because if you're the one who's not paying attention and you're coughing and sneezing, you don't want to... Then stay out of the public, man. This is not... Nobody wants this.
Whoopi Goldberg didn't hold back. She came in fired up, going after Bill Maher for daring to question The View's usual talking points. With plenty of dramatic flair, she accused him of being dismissive and out of touch, basically scolding him for putting facts ahead of feelings. To Whoopi, Maher's refusal to go along with the progressive playbook wasn't just disagreement, it felt personal. But Maher didn't so much as blink. He's been through too many debates like this to get shaken by a little primetime outrage. While Whoopi tried to paint him as insensitive or out of step, Maher stayed calm and focused. He didn't match her volume, he didn't have to. He stood firm, leaning on reason and clarity, pointing out how emotional reactions are too often being placed above truth, and that, he said, is doing more to divide people than bring them together. The tension in the room was thick, Hugh could feel it, but Maher didn't raise his voice or get defensive. He didn't need to. His points landed because they were grounded in common sense, not performance, and in a twist of irony. Not long after this heated exchange, Whoopi herself was suspended from The View after making controversial comments about the Holocaust. Remarks that many saw as deeply misguided. It was a reminder that no one, no matter how famous or well-intentioned, is above being held accountable for their words.
This morning, more fallout for Whoopi Goldberg. ABC News suspending Goldberg from The View for 2 weeks after she made controversial comments about Jewish people and the Holocaust on Monday's episode.
The Holocaust isn't about race. It's not about race.
What is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man.
Whoopi's comments sparked a major backlash almost immediately. Social media lit up, headlines followed, and the outrage came fast from every direction. The pressure was intense, and the network had to respond. Within days, Whoopi was suspended from The View for 2 weeks, a decision that sent shockwaves through the daytime TV world. For many who had just watched her go after Bill Maher, the timing felt like karma. After her unprovoked attack on him, the tables had suddenly turned. It was hard to ignore the irony. But Maher didn't gloat. He didn't take a victory lap or throw it back in her face. Instead, he did something unexpected. He called on the network to bring Whoopi back. He reminded everyone that free speech doesn't only apply when we like what someone says. It also matters when we don't. Even when the words are uncomfortable or controversial, the right to speak freely has to hold. It was a bold and gracious move, and it stood in sharp contrast to the usual cancel first, ask later culture that shows like The View often get pulled into. In an age where online outrage can destroy a person's career in a matter of hours, Maher chose principle over point scoring. His response made one thing clear: real conversation, even when it's messy or difficult, is more valuable than silencing someone just because we disagree.
Attack me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma, sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
Even though Bill Maher kept his cool on camera, you can bet he found some quiet amusement in how things played out. The irony was just too rich to ignore. Whoopi had come into that exchange thinking she was in control, that she was going to put Maher in his place. But in the end, she triggered a controversy entirely of her own doing. This wasn't just a small misstep, which is a major blunder. Her own words caused the fallout, and the very kind of public outrage she's often helped fuel turned around and landed squarely on her. It was a self-inflicted mess, made worse by the confidence she had walking into it. Maher didn't have to say much. He didn't have to push back hard or escalate the moment. The collapse happened all on its own, driven by contradictions and overconfidence. And while Maher stayed gracious in public, you can imagine he might have allowed himself a quiet grin behind the scenes. Because here's the thing: when someone builds their public image around outrage and starts going after people simply for speaking uncomfortable truths, that outrage doesn't stay on their side forever. Eventually, it circles back. And this time, it came right for her.
When they don't have anything to hold you with, nothing to make you think about what they have to say, they talk at you, not
True to form, Whoopi Goldberg didn't back down. Instead of taking a moment to reflect after Bill Maher publicly defended her calling for her return to The View and refusing to pile on, she came back at him even harder. You might expect a pause, maybe even a simple acknowledgement of Maher's unexpected support. But that's not Whoopi's style. Rather than appreciate the gesture, she seemed to take it as permission to double down. And if there's one thing she's mastered over the years, it's the ability to push back even when someone's trying to help. Instead of showing even a hint of gratitude, she brushed Maher's defense aside as if it had never happened. Then, she ramped up the criticism, turning what could have been a moment of mutual respect into another round of tension. Her reaction said a lot, not just about her, but about the media climate she represents. For some, sticking to the approved narrative seems more important than fairness, facts, or even basic decency. And in this case, it was a clear reminder: when personal pride and ideology take center stage, even good faith efforts can be thrown out without a second thought.
But before we go, I want to say...
No, we're not going anywhere
No,
yet.
okay, but I just want to say one thing, as we were talking in the break.
Yeah.
Joy is a wonderful human being, and she should not be afraid that people are going to attack her because she said that thing about the swastika on the cap. She does not think that as you said to me in the break, you do not think that all the people who are for Trump are not.
No, I don't.
You
I
don't.
I just want them to pay attention to words like vermin and poisoning the
course.
blood
And
and the
also-
Third Reich. That's
Right.
all. That's
And
really what I'm
again-
asking.
Bill Maher didn't let the moment pass when he had the chance to speak with Joy Behar in a calm but pointed exchange. He urged her to hold her ground and not back down to the constant pressure from the so-called woke mob. It wasn't loud or dramatic, but it landed with real weight. What Maher exposed in that moment was something deeper: the way The View often operates on performance more than principle. By encouraging Behar to stay true to her own opinions, Maher was highlighting a quiet truth that many of the hosts seem to understand: how extreme or inconsistent some of the woke views have become. Yet they still go along with them. Why? To avoid backlash. That's where Maher struck a nerve. By addressing Behar directly, he pulled back the curtain. He showed how often the show's panel bends to political trends even when it means contradicting their own past statements or common sense. It's not really about conviction. It's fear dressed up as virtue. And Maher, as always, had no problem calling it exactly what it is.